Hey, what's up, guys? John here. Nearly 40% of Americans are skipping meals or have skipped meals to pay for their rent and to pay for their housing costs.
Supermarket shoppers sick of high prices are starting to reach a boiling point.
Some people skipping meals because they simply can't afford it.
When you have NBC News, Fox News, Yahoo News, all the mainstream media outlets, CNBC, coming out with the same story, that Americans are making more money today, but they cannot afford to eat. Right? When you're hearing all of this come out in the last 24 hours, what are they doing? They're normalizing this. They're going to normalize it. You know, before they were saying inflation was going to be transitory. Well, it didn't really work out that way, did it? Inflation gets worse and worse and worse. It's not getting any better. And when you look at what's going on in this country, you're going to see a slow change in narrative about where America really is, where Americans really are. And with this, we're going to start to see something that we've never before seen, which is in 2020, this massive pump of capital that went into the system. Nearly 40% of all USD was put into the circulation since 1776. So for context, 250 years, over the last 3 years, 40% of all that money is now in the system. Like, it's absolutely crazy. With record low interest rates, PP loan stimulus, all these different benefits, people are using it as leverage to, get really nice cars, to buy second homes, Airbnbs, start Amazon businesses. They're building out a lot of credit card debt thinking, hey, I'll be able to pay it off later. The economy's booming, everything will be good. But what's happened? Interest rates have begun to soar. All of this money that was put into systems slowly getting pulled out. Consumers are starting to get a little bit concerned. If they can't afford to feed themselves, you think they're going to be out there buying a brand new Dodge Ram? Probably not, right? We're walking into something big, something huge. And I believe what's going to happen over 2024 is all of these assets, all of these things people bought over 2021 and 2022 are going to a lot of them are going to go back to the bank, or they're going to go up for sale, because people are going to prioritize feeding themselves over looking rich, over having some luxury, over having that second home. And I believe we're going to walk into a mass accumulation opportunity for some people that are prepared and positioned for this massive wealth transfer that's unfolding in America. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. YouTube's going to share this content to educate more people about what's really happening in America. I'm going to show you this content because this is absolutely crazy, and it shows you the clear picture of where Americans really are. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for the greatest wealth transfer in American history, we'd love to help you. My company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video and schedule a free strategy session. Take a look at this. So an alarming 39% of Americans say they've skipped meals to make housing payments. So when you have all these investors that are buying these properties, call it 5 caps, 6 caps, 4 caps, meaning if they were to pay all cash for the deal, they'd get a 4, 5, or 6% return. Well, when interest rates are really, really low, people are okay. I'll do that deal. But now interest rates are sky high, and you could get a better return investing in treasuries. You could even put it in certain accounts and get 4 or 5% return doing nothing, taking no risk, right? So what's going to happen as we start to see more and more and more defaults? Look at this. This is Google Trends stop eviction, right? When you start to see more and more and more defaults, and these rents are not going to be sustainable, what are you going to start to see? You're going to start seeing landlords being a little bit more, landlords that have liquidity, a little more conservative about trying to get that sky high rent. They're really going to say, look, I'll give you first month free. I'll give you first and last month free if you sign a 24-month lease at, this rate. They're going to look for stability, right? They're going to be looking for stability because they're going to see these sky high rents are going to equate to more losses for them because people aren't going to be able to pay, right? People are going to prioritize eating over paying their landlord. That's what's going to happen. And this big bubble, when all these commercial properties, many of them have to go back to the bank for a refi over the next couple of years, it's going to be an issue. It's going to be a very, very, very big issue for a lot of these leveraged landlords refinancing into this current environment. And so when you start to see this situation, and then you see NBC saying, NBC News, look at the dates here, by the way. December 10th, right? December 10th. This here, Yahoo News. This is December 10th, same day, right? Fox News. This came out today. Americans describe struggles to afford food, right? Like, this is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely crazy that America has changed this much, this fast. Over the last couple of years, we went from being a country where people would move from Mexico and the Philippines and Vietnam and all these different countries. They'd bring their family here to get a piece of the American dream. They work really, really hard, provide a great value for America. They do a great service for their family, for their neighborhoods. They do a great, great, great thing for this country. And now people can't afford, even that grew up in this country, can't afford to live here, right? Like, people are moving to different countries because you're gonna spend $200 to go to Whole Foods to get enough food for 3, 4 days, 5 days. people aren't going to do it, right? You're going to start seeing more people being forced out of here. I mean, look at this story here. Why Americans are going hungry despite a strong economy. So she says Jennifer Estrada is making more money than ever, yet struggling to feed her family. For the past year, Estrada has been working 12-hour shifts overnight as a production supervisor at a Wisconsin aluminum plant, making $7 an hour more than she was a year ago. And I mean, that is significant. That's a significant raise, $7 an hour more than she was making a year ago. But with rent that's more than doubled and a monthly grocery bill that now tops $2,400 for her family of 7, Estrada has to turn to local food banks to keep her children from going hungry. And the local food bank, December 4th, demand of food banks and pantries reaches catastrophic levels, right? So when she's taking her kids to the food bank, right? What's happened over the last couple of years? I mean, it's quite unbelievable, really, because you've seen the mass division between families, social circles, friends. Everybody has been basically, pushed apart, right? And so when you see this mass division, you have to think about, what does this do to the American middle class? Well, when you have two working, a husband and a wife working in a home, they're both making $50,000 a year, they have, purchasing power of $100,000. They have some opportunity, right? But when they split up and one person's now responsible for paying that mortgage and the other person has to go now rent a place and they have to pay utilities twice, they have to pay car insurance twice, they have to pay all of these bills twice, they both go from being middle class to now both being equally poor, right? And when you have a family with children, you have to think about what this does to these kids and what this does to the family unit, right? People are continuing to get stripped of the liquidity, stripped of their wealth, stripped of everything, right? This is what's happening in America. And the media before, they weren't talking about this. They were saying, we're going to have a soft landing. Everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be great. Inflation is transitory. We're not hearing that anymore, right? Now they're talking about this type of story. I believe this normalization of, food prices and people needing to go to food banks is going to start getting normalized as if this is some third world country, in which it's turning into. There are definitely many times as a mom where you cook and you make sure they eat and you go a little bit lighter that night. But I strive to make sure that they don't go hungry. By traditional measures of the economy, where unemployment has been at historic lows and wages have been rising, more Americans should be prospering, and the need for help with basic necessities like food should be easing after surging during the pandemic. Now, this is the inflation. They say that unemployment is at 3.7%. So they're saying unemployment is at 2019 levels. That's what they're saying. Unemployment is 2019 levels, right? And they're saying inflation right now is at 3.2%. Now, maybe they're right. Maybe they are. Maybe. But some of the numbers in which they're using, for example, the 453,000 Americans that went on strike in 2023, a lot of these people that went on strike and they re-entered the workforce in November, they're including all of those new people as new people that now have jobs. And what is this doing? This is changing the numbers to include hundreds of thousands, potentially tens of thousands of people that have now entered the labor force, right? They're taking people that work, 2 or 3 jobs as two or three separate individuals working these jobs, right? When you start to look at how the numbers are actually being calculated, you have to ask yourself, that's really interesting. Is that right? Maybe, maybe not. But the current inflation rate of 3.2%, when you go to anywhere, it costs $100 to leave the house to go anywhere, to do almost anything now. $100. Before, you could leave the house for 25, 30, 40 bucks. You go out, grab a burger, grab some fries, it might cost you 10 bucks, 12 bucks. Now you're going somewhere and it's costing you a multiple of that, right? Everything has changed so rapidly in this country, it's almost unrecognizable. Almost unrecognizable. It says in the past 10 years, he's running a food pantry. Keith Berge has never seen a situation as dire as it is these days. It's catastrophic. The pantry has just about reached its capacity to meet the demand for food assistance. The number of families who came through Thanksgiving holiday season alone was a record high. It's the worst this year, who's been logging substantial month-to-month increases in the number of families stopping by for food staples. The situation is widespread across the region, the state, and indeed the nation. Food banks and food assistance programs are reporting record high demand for families unable to feed themselves. The historic level of need comes at a time when donations to food programs and community aid programs in general are declining. In some cases, pantries across the region are witnessing double the demand from last year. Many are logging 30% monthly increases. It's the highest ever, including comparing it back when the pandemic, when we thought we were at a peak that we would never be exceeded, said Joe Arthur, Executive Director of Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, the hub for just about every food pantry in the region. We're actually above pandemic levels in terms of pantry visits, pounds of food. Any way you measure it, we are up. So when you look at this, we have this student loan situation that now is pushed on 43.5 million Americans October 1st, right? All these people are starting to make these bills, holiday spending. All of this is all happening at one time. Interest rates continue to remain elevated. The question is, how do people hold on? How do they hold on? They're not going to. Sadly, they're not going to. Many of them are going to be forced to sell off homes, properties, second homes, cars. They're going to be forced to sell because they're going to prioritize themselves, feeding themselves, and their family, feeding their family. That's what's going to happen. America is walking into this great wealth transfer, this great rug pull. I say it's a rug pull because it was a big setup. In 2020 and 2021, with all this money that was put into the system, everyone was buying, investing. And now all of this is getting pulled right out of the market overnight. And with it, a lot of perceived wealth that Americans thought they had will go with it. But I believe big opportunities for smart, I'm trying to see the positive side of it. I think great opportunities for smart and savvy investors and entrepreneurs and Americans that are looking at this from a defensive standpoint are going to be able to go out there and buy properties and invest. And I don't think people have a choice, because if you don't do it, large corporations will, right? So you want to put yourself in a position to go out there and really put a moat around yourself and your family in this uncertain world. You have no choice but to put yourself in a really strong and stable position for 2024 and 2025, because things are likely only going to get much harder in this country. Drop below. Let's have a conversation about this. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for the greatest wealth transfer in American history, we'd love to help you. At least give you a free consultation at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, and a negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free strategy session. See you next one.